On the Monday of the week of Jesus' death, burial, and resurrection, we find him going into Jerusalem. Let's read from Mark 11:15-19. They came to Jerusalem, and he went into the temple and began to throw out those buying and selling. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves, and would not permit anyone to carry goods through the temple. He was teaching them, "Is it not written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations'? But you have made it into a den of thieves." The chief priests and the scribes heard it and started looking for a way to kill him, for they were afraid of him, because the whole crowd was astonished by his teaching. Whenever evening came, they would go out to the city. Jesus cleansing the temple serves as a warning to all of us against removing God from the center of our worship. The temple was a place of worship. In fact, God had given Solomon specific instructions on its design and how it was to be built. Its very purpose was for worship. It's where the sacrifices were brought. It's where the Ark of the Covenant, God's very presence with his people, was located. Now, that Jesus would enter the temple compound is not a surprise. He did it often. But what he did and said was a big surprise, especially to the Jewish leaders. When Jesus entered the temple compound, he found the court of Gentiles had been totally taken over. The court of Gentiles is the only place in the temple where everyone, Jews and non-Jews alike, can worship the one true God. This one area that was open to everyone had been completely taken over by stalls full of birds and animals for sacrifice, and for merchants exchanging money into a common currency to be used in the temple. Now, all of this business could have easily been carried out outside the temple. As it was, people had lost sight of the very purpose that the temple exists. So when we see this, when Jesus sees this, Jesus starts turning over tables and driving out those who are doing business. He reminds them of Isaiah's words that were written centuries earlier, that this temple was a house of prayer for all nations, for all people. In this picture, Jesus' cleansing the temple is a warning to us not to pollute the worship of a holy God. We must be careful never to remove God from the center of our worship. Never put ourselves, our personal agendas, or our desires at the center of worship. We should welcome all people who come to Nashville First, focusing not just on who is attending, but why they are attending. May we live in such a way that we draw others to worship Him.